Okay. The Hansons. None of that stinking root beer. Okay, so we're going to hop right into the Halloween favorites here, okay? So first up, we got Garfield Halloween Adventure. You can find this on YouTube. Okay, this is a wholesome 1985 charming story. You got Binky the Clown, who's terrifying. You got Candy. You got a good old-fashioned ghost story with a pirate theme. It won a Primetime Emmy for Outstanding Animated Program. And it's the fourth of 12 specials from 1982 to 1991. Creator Jim Davis wanted the episode to start familiar and then take a turn that would at least scare 4-year-olds. And to be honest, the old guy Garfield meets in the haunted house, Garfield and Odie, the old guy they meet in the haunted mansion, is pretty friggin' scary. Garfield and Odie, one of the original early comedy duos, one of the original early comedy odd couples. It's got a couple of cute songs. Oh yeah, so Garfield and Odie dress up as pirates. They go, "Yarr, lootin' always be a good time. Come on, we got a village to pillage." About halfway through, or about 15 minutes in there, once they hop in the boat, shit gets real. After telling Odie he will show him the finer details of trick-or-treating, once they get to the door and the lady opens the door, he just looks up and goes, "Gimme." In the old man's story, he says the pirate ghosts come at midnight, and I'm surprised John let Odie and Garfield stay out trick-or-treating until midnight and beyond. Candy. Okay, up next we have Ernest Scared Stupid. Availability unknown. I used to love these Ernest movies. Jim Varney, I think he was one of the early influences on me in comedy. I used to love Ernest Scared Stupid, Ernest Saves Christmas. Obviously, they got a little far-fetched, but some of the early ones were classics, and he is comedy gold. And it's kind of like an early Jim Carrey in some ways, like very rubber face and lanky and, lots of physical comedy and facial reactions. Anyways, Ernest Scared Stupid. It's the 5th Ernest film. This was the last Ernest film under the Disney label due to modest gross revenue. So it wasn't making enough money, they dropped them. And actually, which is weird because this one is friggin' awesome. This one turned out to be a cult classic. Okay, Ernest unleashes trolls who turn into wooden. The troll turns the kids into wooden dolls. It's really creepy. And as a kid, this troll used to actually terrify me. I know this was a comedy, but this troll is disgusting. It was pussy, and its friggin' boils and pimples are all oozing green, and it was really small and fat and chunky. It was really with a huge head. I think that was the scariest thing. Little body, huge head. How about a bumper sandwich, booger lips? Yeah, Ernest was one of my comedy idols growing up. Loved the Ernest movies. Oh yeah, the scene where the troll hides under the bed. That was terrifying. It's so it's predictable. You know it's coming. The girl hears the noise. She's so scared. She looks under the bed. No troll. She comes back up to lay down, and the troll's laying in bed with her. Everybody loves a nice cold glass of Miak. And yeah, it's considered a cult favorite. Like, this one's awesome. You got the crazy voodoo lady in it too. Ernest, his couple buddies, his lackey buddies there who are hilarious. The bigger guy, and I think the short bald guy who doesn't say much. Those guys are funny. Okay, Simpson Treehouse of Horror 4. So this is season 5, episode 5. You can watch this on Disney. I binge watched a run of them. Seasons 2 to 8 basically is what I did. And this one, season 5, episode 5, Treehouse of Horror 4, this is by far the most consistently funny one out of all of them I found. Obviously things are going to change time and day or whatever, but in the run of them, this was kind of right in the middle. And this really hit. And this is also the funny spot kind of in The Simpsons for me. The 3 episodes are, you got Homer eating the donut with the devil Flanders, the evil gremlin on the bus, and the vampire Burns. This is co-written by Conan O'Brien. And the Halloween episodes never fall under the regular continuity of the show. They always act as their own entity, homaging horror films. Yeah, so whatever happens in the Halloween film can just happen. It's not going to affect anything in the continuity of or story of the actual show. The wraparound art segments are an homage to an old TV series called The Night Gallery, and are spoofs of original paintings. So I think there's a spoof of a Scream painting, meaning Van Gogh, or is it Van Gogh? Picasso, maybe? I don't know. Whatever that one where the guy's like, ugh. So yeah, you get one funny cameo is you get the 1976 Philadelphia Flyers for being so evil, for how evil they were. They got called upon to represent the devil at the trial. And it was the highest rated show the week that it aired on Fox, which makes sense. 13.6 million viewers. I remember it was a big deal. You'd sit down, I'm pretty sure it was still Sunday nights at like 8 o'clock or whatever. Or maybe it just aired on Halloween night. I don't know. I can't recall. But I remember we'd sit down, turn the lights off, and then Marge would always come out, or they always have that intro in front of the red curtain, like, don't watch this. It's too scary. And very funny stuff. So it's quite possibly the best Treehouse episode in my opinion. Another favorite, another classic of mine that I always like to watch, Scream. You can watch this on Prime Video. This was the scariest movie I saw as a kid. This opened my eyes. This really changed me. I think I saw this at maybe 12 or 13, and it went from kind of watching movies like, say, Ernest movies to watching movies like Scream movies or A Whole New World. I remember this was so scary. It haunted me because I saw it at a girl's birthday party. So not only was the movie scary, but I think at one point when we were eating cake, one of the girls bit her tongue and she bit a taste bud and it exploded and she was just like bleeding out of her mouth from biting a taste bud or something like that. So like I have all this weird imagery wrapped up with this Scream thing and seeing it for the first time, being terrified, traumatized from it. And I don't know if it happened that year specifically, but my thinking was to get over it. I'm like, oh my God, this Scream killer terrifies me. So I'm going to dress as him for Halloween. I'll be the thing that scares me. That was my joke kind of thinking. So I dressed as a killer for Halloween because I figured I wouldn't get killed by the Scream killer if I was dressed like the Scream killer, or if I was the Scream killer. And it was a super, even I think, popular costume that year. So everybody had it. I still go back and watch it every year. I love the original Scream. It's such a well-done movie. It's very self-aware. It makes fun of itself. It makes fun of horror movies. There's even that really strange part where Henry Winkler talks to the janitor, and the guy's dressed like Freddy Krueger. And it's like, and the guy's like, ugh. And Henry Winkler didn't want his name on the poster, or the production didn't want his name on the poster to make people think it was a comedy or be like the Fonz is in this. And by not doing that smart marketing angle, people were more shocked that the Fonz was in it, and it had a better reverse effect for them. So instead of drowning them, it actually made the film better because people were like, whoa, the Fonz is in this. It took me a long time to see this movie. I never saw it until maybe up to last year, and it's very well done. It's shocking. It's 70s, and you got to remember at the time it's shocking. The language, the disgusting factor. It's like piss, barf, stabbing herself. It's chaotic. Really good story. And the priests, everyone in this does such a good job. And I don't know if the guy who played the priest, who's kind of the main priest, I don't recognize him. I don't think he was a big star. He is really great and carries this movie really well. I don't even recall seeing him in anything else. I have to do some research on him, but he really holds his own in this movie. Doesn't rely on needing a big star, and it would have suffered if it had a big star too. It's so hardcore. I can't believe, not that they were allowed, because the 70s was the best time to make movies that were risk taking, because people accepted it. People didn't get all up in arms over art, because it's just art. It's music, or it's a song, or it's a movie. Just because you make it doesn't mean you believe it. You're just trying to make something entertaining or different or shocking or whatever. You're taking a chance. You're trying to do people a favor, so you're not providing them just the same cookie cutter crap. They're so desperate for new content or different material, but they don't even know it because they're just brainwashed or succumbed, dead inside, to just accepting crap. I digress. Oh yeah, so hardcore. I can't believe they kind of made this movie back then. Today it would get canceled in a second, and for no reason. Unrightfully so. People would be like, oh, but think of the demon girl. She has rights too. What about the demon girl? Which is kind of reminds me of a little touch for Shaun of the Dead. Instead of killing all the zombies at the end, you see they've turned them into employee at the supermarket, stuff like that, which is also saying we're already that. It's they're already, we're already zombies and drones. We've become numb. Very disturbing. So The Exorcist, very disturbing but entertaining. It makes you squirm. The head turning green monster face, the effects, the bed going up and down, the head turning. Really good stuff. Chronic 2000, Dr. Dre. You can get this on iTunes. The song Murder Inc. is actually utilizes the Halloween theme song from John Carpenter. The lyrics are super intense, really graphic lyrics. There's this one chick who just goes off in this, which is like, the lyrics are fucking crazy. But it's like, get that Halloween theme song piano playing. It's very cool. I do love Scary Movie. You can get this on Netflix, available on Netflix. The first one, okay, folks, obviously it went overboard, but the first Scary Movie is legendary. It was funny. There's no denying it was funny. Okay, it was hilarious. It was a game changer. And you can tell they really spent a lot of time, the Wayans brothers, really hammering out as many jokes as they could every second. And I'd say even though they're dick and fart jokes and stuff like that, there's still a lot of quality humor and physical humor and stuff in it that happens. So can't go wrong for a good laugh. It was funny. I remember watching it a couple of times. So many really laugh out loud funny parts still to this day. At the time, I remember it being a nice breath of fresh air. Something you didn't have to think too much about. One of my favorite lines is when the homeless guy asks for, what does he say? He's like $1, and she's like, "Oh, you poor man, you must be so hungry. Here, take a sandwich." And he's like, "I asked for $1, bitch." And he throws the sandwich at her. They took turns that were just I needed at the time in my life. Just things that didn't matter, throwaway jokes, stuff like that. I remember there's like a small penis photo at one point where he's like, "It's not funny," or something. I don't know. Or he's like, "It was cold." I don't know. There's just so many funny moments in it. So quotable, and it started an onslaught of modern spoof movies, like Not Another Teen Movie. Basically, the American Pies even turned into those to an extent where it's like American Pie Band Camp, American Pie this and that, like once they went overboard. And National Lampoon's like Dorm Days, National Lampoon's this and that. Like it's Dawn of the Dead, 2004. I was working at a movie theater in the time, saw this movie. I loved it. It was another game changer for me. Following after 28 Days Later with Fast Zombies, which came out in 2002-ish. Dawn of the Dead kept up with that theme of the fast zombies, the more intense pressure of running away from these zombies, because back in the day, who was it? It was George A. Romero or whatever, his Dawn of the Dead regular, it was just like, or Night of the Living Dead, it was just like walking slow zombies. There wasn't that like, what's the word I'm looking for? Urgency. James Gunn wrote the screenplay. Zack Snyder directs. Like these guys, this was kind of the start of them breaking through, and this is when they were doing less Hollywood fancied movies. But this still was, obviously, but they were given liberties because they're smaller budgets, and these guys were kind of making their bones at the time. Obviously, so many iconic moments when they're picking off celebrity lookalikes. I love that with the sniper rifle. They're like, get Jay Leno, and then you got to find Jay Leno, and then you got to shoot Jay Leno. It's really funny because things like that would develop over time. Once you're in this world of zombies or pandemic or whatever, you would need to still find ways to try and have fun in this world, as sick as it sounds. So the ending with the Richard Cheese song, I remember that was iconic. Lots of great supporting actors. It was filmed in Toronto. It is a great remake or update. I can still watch it to this day and get enjoyment out of it. Super eye-opening to me at the time when I first saw it. I was just, some of the directing choices were just so new to me. You know, that was kind of seeing Zack Snyder stuff for the first time, and I do like him as a director. I think he gets dissed for some reason, but I was a huge fan of The Watchmen, and I was a huge fan of this movie. I think he does a good job, and he gives you shots. I love some of his shot choices and how he does it, and he incorporates VFX as well, stuff like that as well. When the neighbor girl bites the husband in the neck at the beginning, and then he dies, and then my favorite part is when he reawakens kind of slowly. When she's on the phone, he's in the background, and he reawakens. Like, there's just so many, it's a lot of cool choices, and they performed it really well. Even when I love this moment, like the stunt or whatever was great, and this was even her doing it, I'm pretty sure, and I was like, how did they do that? Was the bathtub, she must have just smashed herself into that bathtub, because it didn't look like padding, and there was no cut, so it was actually Sarah Polley, and it's an above shot. I think maybe it was a set that they built, because the camera's above in the bathroom, and she slams the door to get away from her husband and falls backwards into the bathtub, and the shower thing falls, and it's like a 1 or 2 second shot, but it's amazing. I love it. They did such a good job with just that one shot. I felt it, the panic and falling. Very good. Very well done. So even when she's escaping, she's driving around her neighborhood. That was filmed in like Thornhill suburbs or something like that. She's driving around her neighborhood to escape, and everything going on, that they built that little world. They didn't need to do too much cutting. Camera on the car. They built a little world. There's ambulance stuff going on. There's that guy who's got the gun. He's like, stay back, I'll shoot you. He gets hit by an ambulance. This is all in like the first 5 minutes. Someone's on fire. Like someone's trying to break into her car. Just panic. People are trying to buy toilet paper. No, I'm just kidding. Her husband's chasing her, and then he just runs off and goes after a neighbor who's vulnerable at the time as she escapes. As she's driving, they cut to that high shot, and some tanker truck, I don't know what this tanker truck's thinking. Like, he was going way too fast, and he just ends up crashing into a gas station and exploding. Like, it's just... And then Johnny Cash starts. It's just, what an opening. Another favorite part is when they're sending whiteboard messages to each other back and forth on the roof, with this guy, Andy, who's over at like Andy's gun shop or military supply shop or whatever. And that's like a nice moment, they found friend, you make a friend, or you communication, or like I said, adapting to this new world. You got to kind of find your peace where you can. Mekhi Phifer is in this. Remember when Mekhi Phifer was like the biggest thing in the world? He was in every movie at one point. He was a huge Hollywood star, and he's a creep in this movie. He like loves his alien baby once it's born. Super creepy. And I love that part when the huge lady gets up and starts attacking everyone in the mall too. Just some really disgusting stuff in this. Super entertaining movie. Okay, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003. So I remember seeing this in theaters. I was working at the theaters. This also, I loved it. I saw it before I saw the original. Obviously, I love Jessica Biel in this. They obviously put her in a white t-shirt and made it raining at the end for a reason. She's so hot in this. And the crazy thing is she pretty much still looks exactly the same. And this is 17 years ago. I remember after seeing it and how terrifying it was, I remember waking up to the sound of a chainsaw the next morning. I was sleeping with my window open, letting some breeze in or whatever in the summer. And I wake up at like 7 a.m. to zin, zin, and my fucking neighbor is fucking chainsawing or something in his backyard. I'm like, ah! I'm like, jeez. Still to this day, this one is the scariest, most well-done version, in my opinion. The original in the 70s is like kooky, cringy, almost like Pink Flamingos to an extent. This one I thought was like a really well-done horror movie. Sure, there's a lot of stupid moments to an extent. Like, why would you do that? Or why would you go there or whatever? But that's a horror movie. But I thought it was like the closest to having the least amount of poor choices. I know. Oh yeah, so even after seeing it, like once you see it enough time and it gets past being the scariness of it, I always thought it was much cuter. I always started feeling bad and sympathizing for Leatherface, and always thinking it was cute because there's just some shots where he's like sewing in the basement and he's all hunched over and he's just sewing his little faces that he stole from people. And I was like, oh, cute little Leatherface. He's just a little kid. The intro and the outro in this movie with that camera sign where it's like or however, like I'm not even doing it justice, but very good. And they like do a still image on Leatherface's face at the end because they didn't clear the scene well enough and he attacked the cops. Some intense stuff, man. That was a good leave you hanging moment that he's still out there. So yeah, I think one of the scariest moments is when Jessica Biel and her other female friend are trapped in the van, kind of in the middle of the movie. Her boyfriend's already been killed. Leatherface is there. I think all the feathers from the pillows are flying, and Leatherface turns his head and he's wearing the boyfriend's face. And I was like, oh my God, so good, so terrifying. That hits you on so many terrifying levels. Would hit her character on so many terrifying levels too. Yeah. Yes, was it Arlie Emery? I think this guy just died this year or recently. He's disgusting in this. He's so good. When he bashes the kid's teeth, and then he's like, hey, me and you are kind of, hey, now we look alike. He smashes the kid's teeth with a bottle. He's cutthroat in this. And it's so gross when like 60-year-old men still live at home with their parents. Hey, you gonna iron my pants, mama? Fucking weird. Another hilarious one. Frankenstein, The College Years, 1991. You can watch this on YouTube. I used to love this movie. It's directed by Tom Shadyac. This guy, this is the first film he would go on to do many big films after this. With Jim Carrey, Ace Ventura, Liar Liar. Then he did The Nutty Professor. Then he did Bruce Almighty. They got this character Blaine. It's such a good character. He's always got a stuffy nose, so he's always blowing his nose, and he talks always with a stuffy nose. And he's got this big old nose. So Blaine, Blaine is such a perfect, bland name for this guy. Like, yeah. Just imagine someone so boring and he's like a TA. He's a teacher's assistant, and he wears like a lab coat and everything. He's perfect. Blaine is awesome. You got Larry Miller, comedian Larry Miller, friends with like Jerry Seinfeld and those guys. He was the dad in 10 Things I Hate About You. Very funny guy, very good actor. He plays like the mean dean with Blaine, using Blaine. Oh yeah, so Frankenstein, Frank N. Stein is this guy's name. Frank loves football. He plays football for the team. He becomes a star. It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing. He becomes a star at the college. So basically what happens is these two students, two college frat boys, are like failing or whatever, and they're friends with this like Christopher Lloyd looking mad scientist who's making this Frankenstein character. And the mad scientist dies at the beginning. That kind of sets everything off, and the guys go and check his like lab, and they end up bringing Frankenstein to life, and then comedy blah 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 ensues from there. That's kind of the story. Okay, so Frankenstein joins the college team, becomes a star, touchdowns. I think he's a kicker actually, so maybe it's kicking field goals. Oh yeah, so the guys put makeup on him and dress him up to like try and fit in and be like a cool college guy. So they like, instead of his face being like green and blue, you know, they lighten him up a bit, and then they give him like a ball hat and stuff, and then everybody's fooled. For how stupid this is, it was really well done. And like I said, this goes back to it being Tom Shadyac and obviously probably a pretty good writer doing it, you know. So you can take something that's nutty and outlandish and still ground it and make it funny and realistic. Devereaux White, who plays Argyle in the Die Hard movies, he makes an appearance as like a college frat boy in this couple things. He's got a couple good looks. I think there's something banging up. Frankenstein is like causing ruckus upstairs, and the entire like building's falling apart because he's so huge. And I think Devereaux's like always like, what is going on? And I think there's one scene where they have to like cover his mouth because he's about to scream because he found out who Frankenstein is. And so it's kind of like Frankenstein meets Encino Man, but it's a lot of fun. Frankenstein the College Year. It's on YouTube. Check it out. Murder Party, 2007. It used to be on Netflix. It used to be available everywhere on Prime. I can't find it anywhere right now. It probably will be on those things again soon. Murder Party, okay? This is the movie that kickstarted Jeremy Saulnier's career. Macon Blair, Jeremy Saulnier, they're a great up-and-coming, well, they've solidified themselves now, but they were a great up-and-coming team kind of thing. So making Blue Ruin together, working on Green Room together, they always work together. Murder Party won the Slam Dance Film Festival Best Audience Award feature in 2007. So this was kind of his first indie thing to kick off, to be doing Blue Ruin and Green Room and Hold the Dark and episodes of True Detective and stuff from there. He made this really good low-budget indie film, one location pretty much. The story is this like loner kind of loser guy gets invited to a random Halloween party called a murder party. And to tell you the truth, a murder party actually sounds like something that some fucking sickos would do today, and then put it on like social media or some shit. Some deep thread, some just deep, disgusting thread. Anyways, this movie is really smart, really funny, great costumes, good story. The lines, the dialogue is so funny. I think it takes place in like Brooklyn or something like that. So it's got these people who are like super artsy, Brooklyn, hipster central. They play art house douchebags. You know, and check out Blue Ruin and Green Room by the same director. But this one's really worth your time too, and it's a Halloween-inspired movie. And finally, Saw. You can get this on Prime Video with a subscription to the Super Channel. Again, that's still too high. It's like $8.99. For some reason, they allow you to see like Saw 5, 6, and 7 on regular Prime, but for the original, which is probably the only good one, ridiculous. Anyways, it's one of the few modern movies, I think, like The Sixth Sense, where it had a surprise ending. People were generally tricked and astonished. Very creepy ending. That guy getting the door slammed on him, like the bald dude gets up off the ground, the music's pumping up, the story's unraveling, he peels things off, he shuts the door, he's like, goodbye, or whatever. Like, it was a good ending. Kind of a terrifying concept, being trapped in a killer scenario, having to escape these things, like psychological and terror and all this stuff all in one. That little doll on the bike, he became so iconic. It is very creepy. He just I think they kind of overused him. It's kind of like the shark. You don't want to show it too much. I know. I agree. That's what I'm saying. I'm telling everyone. Don't worry. So I think they overused him. Showed him a little bit too much. Less is more. So it inspired 7 other films of the same name and multiple offshoots called like Saw 3D, Jigsaw. I think there's up to like 10 or 12 movies, and this came out in like 2000 something, early 2000s. So we often forget quality because movies get oversaturated with sequels, but the first Saw was groundbreaking. I think it was a well-done movie with well-done actors and a strong director. Groundbreaking, still good, scary, disturbing, psychological horror movie. And at the time, it was the most profitable horror film since Scream and Guinness Book of Records, and most successful horror franchise ever. But here's the alternative. All the films have never scored higher than 49% on Rotten Tomatoes. Take that which you will, which was the original Saw. That was the highest scored one at 49%. Now there's 10 or 12. The rest have all been lower. So it's like money, quality. It inspired comic books, video games, a theme park. The theme park looks like it's dropping you into spinning saw blades in Europe. So it's probably like that haunted house one they used to have in Disney World or Disneyland or whatever, and the elevator would bring you up and then you think you're free falling. And they even have live action escape rooms, escape mazes. So it is a moneymaker. Okay, obviously these are just some horror movies and things that have come to mind that I love a lot. I have a long list of stuff that I love a lot. Like if you want to go through a fast money round, I couldn't talk about everything. But, there's The Dead Don't Die by Jim Jarmusch, which is funny. The Fly, which is gross. It's the most mainstream Cronenberg film, I would say. Sleepy Hollow, I would say, is actually a dark Tim Burton film. Not dark where Batman 1 is supposed to be dark and it's all, the Joker's like dancing in a museum and stuff. That's not dark. Sleepy Hollow is actually dark and well done, in my opinion. There's heads getting chopped off. It's real. So The Strangers, they don't do anything right in Strangers, and that's what makes it so hard to watch and so good, because no one would ever do any of the things that Scott Speedman and Liv Tyler are doing. At one point, I think she's getting terrified for like 15, 20 minutes into the movie, and then at one point she decides to lock the door. I'm like, fuck off. Like, that door already would have been locked. Oh my God. The Dead Zone, classic throwback, 1980 something. I think it's another Cronenberg, and it's based off of Stephen King. It's a good movie. Christopher Walken, anyways, he has telepathic powers, psychological telepathical powers or whatever. It's not really a horror film, but 2001: A Space Odyssey can be considered a horror film just because of its magnitude. It's stunning and overall unsettling, I would say. Mother being trapped in a bad fever dream. The Blair Witch, still creepy, so simple, very creepy, and love that this was one of like the first movies, that's like an independent, kind of like Clerks or whatever, that gets like $1 million and Kickstarter, and those people deserve it. The Sixth Sense, this is such a classic because I know some people have only seen this once or twice. It's not available, I can't find it anywhere. But it's unforgettable. You remember almost every scene in this movie, no matter how many. You just need to see it once. Let Me In, and then alternatively, Let the Right One In, which is the U.S. remake, which is one of the few remakes I think they actually did a good job with. I forget the director of this remake of Let the Right One In, or Let Me In, but I think the American version director did actually a really good job too. There's one scene with Richard Jenkins, I think, and he's wearing like a dark mask over his head and driving the car. Some very cool stuff. The lighting, everything looks very good. I love both those movies. Here's another random one, kind of like the Murder Inc. song, Miscellaneous. The Thriller music video, the hair and makeup and wardrobe and special effects makeup in that are amazing. Silence of the Lambs, classically disturbing. The Karate Kid, so the skeletons running through the hallways, and then even the quote from The Social Network where he's like, I'm not going to be the Karate Kid chasing skeletons through the hallways or whatever. Body Double, this is considered like a cheesy B horror slasher, sexy. It's like a Brian De Palma. It's interesting. It's very cool. Voyeur type thing. The Thing, this is one of the best. Dress to Kill, this is another De Palma. This is Michael Caine. This is probably one of my favorite Michael Caine movies. Dress to Kill. It's like an edge of your seat thriller from the 80s. A little bit of crime story in there too. It's good. 28 Days Later, the first running zombie film. Seven, it's still disturbing, stellar crime flick. Green Room, intense thriller that's realistic. Shaun of the Dead, probably one of my favorite movies of all time. I remember going to see it in theaters 3 or 4 times. I remember going to see Shaun of the Dead with friends and taking friends to see it for free. I think even stemmed me getting fired / quitting, because I was just like, you're going to fire me for coming in and seeing a free movie after working here for like 3 or 4 years or whatever, after they had been continuously taking away how many free passes we get, like all the time. It kept downgrading, and I was just like, screw you guys, and I peaced out. And So essentially I did it for Shaun of the Dead, which is a great, funny movie that I'll hold dear to my heart and laugh at for the rest of my life. Anyways, that is all of it. That's the Halloween edition. And everybody, trick or treat, motherfuckers.